Recently, I put up a video about deep squats for people who are pretty inflexible and have trouble getting down to the floor comfortably without any weight or anything on them. In that video, I showed a couple things you can do if you are a stiff and flexible person, things that I actually did to help myself get my deep squats back. But not everybody has trouble with their deep squats because they are inflexible and stiff. Some people are already flexible and still run into trouble getting deep and low into a squat. So in this video, we're going to talk about a couple things you can do if you are somebody who is really flexible. These are some things that we covered in our Healthy Hips workshop with our students here in October, and I wanted to make sure that we shared it here on YouTube so you guys get a taste of what we're talking about and how you can help yourself with your deep squats. First, let's be really clear. Some people think that they are really flexible because there's one motion they can do with their hips really well, but they may be stiff in other directions. So if you think you are flexible, make sure you at least watch the other video on deep squats that we put out recently so you can try those exercises first to make sure you are flexible in those drills already. If you aren't, then work on those things. But if you are really flexible, this tends to be true for women who have done a lot of yoga or in general are just genetically gifted and blessed with more flexibility, then you're going to want to work on things to help you with strength in getting into and managing the deep squat position. So the first thing we're going to look at is actually building some hip flexor strength. So hip flexors are the muscles on the front of your hip. They are going to be the high quads. They're going to be the psoas and the iliacus. Those muscles help you lift up like this. You also have the TFL and glute minimus out on the outside that help you control that hip flexion motion and keep your leg going straight up and down instead of spinning out like that. So what we're gonna do, real simple, is work on building up that strength. And to do that, you don't even need to start with a weight. What you're gonna need is something to help you balance. You can use the wall, you can use a stick, you can use both. Whatever you wanna do is fine. We're just going to focus on lifting the leg up towards the ceiling, bringing the knee towards the chest without letting this happen. We want to control hip flexion and feel the muscles of the quads mostly working in this position. Over time, we wanna be able to lift this knee higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and be able to stabilize in that position. Why, you may ask? Well, we're trying to be able to control the position where your knee is higher than your hip joint. So when we're going into the squat, we want to be able to literally pull ourselves into the position so that these muscles are helping pull that pelvis closer to the thigh bone and get us deeper into that squat. A lot of people have really weak hip flexors from just sitting on the couch or in their office chair all day. So the hip flexors will feel tight, but in fact, they're really weak. So when you're doing this exercise, we can be holding this for 30 seconds, even a minute as you get better and better at it, constantly thinking about getting higher and higher and higher. When you're ready, you can make this even harder by doing one of two things. One is to actually start extending the knee so that the foot is further away from you and the leg becomes heavier. This is an easy way to do things without adding in any extra weight, but it's not exactly the same as a squat motion, right? Because when we squat, we have the knee bent. So that's one thing you can do, requires no equipment, but the other thing you can do is use an ankle weight, throw it right around your ankle, and up we go. So now we're adding resistance to the motion and we're just working on firing those high quads, the hip flexors, and making sure we're not wiggling and wobbling around. And as you get better and better at this, you can make the weight heavier and heavier and heavier, and you should really feel these muscles get tired. You may also want to work on different angles here. So if you come out to the side like that, that may be more similar to your preferred squat stance at this time, and that's fine. So you can play around with how you position the knee relative to the midline. It can be a little more out, it can be more in, but over time you just want to learn to control all the different angles. And while you're doing this, make sure that your pelvis stays as level as you can keep it. You don't want to be going like this to try to get the knee up. You want it to be a clean motion coming only from the hip joint. In general, I would suggest doing this exercise for 2 or 3 sets, and probably every other day would be reasonably good as a beginner. And if you feel like you benefit from it more often, then feel free to do it more often. Another possible area where you may be pretty weak is in your butt cheeks. So we had a couple students in our Healthy Hips workshop who had trouble getting low in their squat because their butt muscles just weren't firing. So once we did a couple exercises to just get the glutes on, they were able to go deeper in their squats literally minutes later. So what I'm going to show you is called the hip thrust or elevated bridge. Basically, what you're going to do is either use your couch or use a step or something to get your rib cage, your mid-back elevated. And then you're going to keep your spine in neutral, your head and neck in line with the rest of your spine. And you're going to squeeze your butt cheeks, spine neutral as you come up. And then your head will be resting on your support once you have reached that top position and you have your butt squeezed. Then you keep the spine neutral, come down. You'll notice my head and neck lift off of the support. So all of this is one column that doesn't really move. It's the butt and the pelvis that change position. This stuff just goes along for the ride. So we're just going up and down like so, making sure we feel the butt cheeks fire. Now, if you have a weight, you can just throw a dumbbell on top of your lap. That works perfectly well to make this harder. You can start off with 10 pounds, it's not gonna feel like a big deal. And then over time, you just add a little bit more weight as you can comfortably tolerate. If right now you don't have any weights at home to work with, then another thing you can do is just think about using, once you're at the top, just using one leg to help you. So right now I'm up here, I've lifted the heel of my left foot up, and now my right glute is doing a whole bunch of work. And then I'm just gonna slowly lower down, making sure the right glute is doing all that work. And I can do that on that right side over and over and over again, making it get tired. And then I can switch. I can do that left side, making it do a whole bunch of work so that the glute muscles get used to dealing with hip flexion and hip extension. So when you're going down into a deep squat, your body is going to want to feel like it has the strength to control your way down and also rescue you and get you back up out of the position. So this will help you fire up those butt muscles. I would just do this for, again, 2 to 3 sets of whatever gets you fatigued. So it might just be 5 repetitions. It could be 10 repetitions, whatever it is. Get those muscles on and get them used to firing, and then start working on it 2, 3 times a week, every other day. In that range is fine. And then if you feel like you get more benefit and you're not getting too sore and stiff, you could do it more. It just depends on your life. So if you're sitting in a truck, driving a truck for 10 hours a day, or you're sitting on your butt at a computer 15 hours a day, you may need to do this more to make sure your butt muscles stay engaged and strong. One problem people can have when they're going down into the deep squat is that their hips want to spin out into external rotation and the knees start spinning out to the sides. In that case, you may be lacking the strength in your hips to create internal rotation as you're going into hip flexion. That means as the knee is getting closer to the chest, the femur wants to spin out this way and pull out here. So to prevent that, you need to create internal rotation to keep the knee in the right position. What you can do is take a band, some sort of training band, make a loop. If it's not already in a loop, you're gonna put it around your ankles, and you are going to be doing internal rotation as you go into hip flexion. So you're starting off in what's basically a frog position, and then you're pulling your feet apart, your ankles apart, and then maintaining as neutral a spine as you can as you sink down into that squat position. So you're pulling the band apart with your ankles, pulling, 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 creating internal rotation, and gradually sinking deeper and deeper into the position. You're gonna feel muscles working all around the side of your hips. You're gonna feel a little bit of stretching probably too as you go into it. And you wanna keep cueing for that lumbar curve and an actual arch. You don't wanna dump into this, right? Because then you're not actually improving your hip flexion. And you wanna really work hard to contract out in a way, and then you can relax, try to sink deeper, and then contract, and then relax. And you can do that for repetitions, you can do that for long holds, you can do a 30-second hold, really firing these up, and then get up and try your squat again. What you should notice is when you go back to squat, it should feel easier to keep the knees in because you've now turned on the internal rotators. For programming on that, again, try it at least a couple times a week. Every other day is probably a reasonable pace for most people, and then if you want to do more, you can experiment with doing more as long as it's not making your hips too stiff or too inflexible. One more option to help you build strength for the squat is to do a split squat. So you're just going to start standing with your feet comfortably apart, and then you take like a medium step back so that you feel like you can comfortably balance in this position. So viewed from the side, it's like this. You don't have to be super, super, super far at this point, but you just want to start off with a comfortable medium step back. And then what you can work on is getting this front leg used to controlling the depth of the squat, controlling for this descent. And you want to be able to keep your butt muscle engaged as you're doing this. So you're just going down, firing the butt cheek, and back up. Don't lose your balance. If you are losing your balance, you can use a stick to help you balance this, or a wall, that's fine. And as you're doing this, you can think about really getting deep into this. You can even think about keeping the spine neutral as you go into deeper hip flexion, just so your body gets used to controlling that position. When you're doing the split squat, you want to make sure that the back foot is not turned out like this. You want to keep it turned in. That is to make sure that the hip flexor on that back leg is getting worked in the appropriate way. It's getting stretched out. So not only are you building some strength on the front leg, but you're also building some strength and mobility on the back leg. That lets you double dip, as Trevor likes to say. You can do probably 5 to 8 on each side, 2 to 3 sets. And again, you can see I'm squeezing my butt cheek, just trying to control that descent. With the back leg, you can bend the back leg to help you come down and control it a little bit. Try not to use the back leg a lot during this exercise. If you want, you can keep that back leg more straight, and then you can change how you're doing the split squat. So you could be coming forward a little bit more here, and that's gonna work your quads a little bit more and build the strength of the quads to help you with that squat depth. But either way, whether you're dropping the knee, squeezing hard here, or shifting more forward, you'll be building strength in the side to help you control your deeper and deeper squat. So then when you go here, you have the quad muscles firing, you have the glutes firing to help you go up and down. So now you have a couple exercises you can work on to improve your squat depth and improve your overall strength for the squat. I'm also gonna leave a link in the description box to a video we shot a few years ago that shows you how to do an assisted squat. That's also really helpful for building strength as you try to master this basic fundamental human movement. If you're just starting off with some of these exercises, I do encourage you to be gentle with yourself. Take time to get familiar with the exercise and what muscles are supposed to be working during the exercise. And then you don't have to go 120% on all of these exercises, especially when you first start. You want to just make sure you use the right muscles and gradually learn how to contract those muscles more and more over time. You'll gain more if you are patient than if you just try to ram into it as hard as possible, because then you get hurt and then you make no progress for several weeks or months. So just take your time, learn the exercises. If you are trying to figure out how often to do them, you can start, like I said, with a couple times a week. Twice a week is fine, 3 times a week is fine. It works out. Just maybe every other day is a good way to think about it and give yourself some time off on the weekends, right? You don't want to make yourself so sore that you can't walk or so sore that you can't move comfortably through the day. So try it out with like twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, and then gradually increase if it feels like it's helpful and productive. If you need more ideas to help you with your hips, be sure to check out the Upright Live Hips class. It's a class that's going to guide you through a lot of different hip exercises step by step and in a really smartly structured, well-designed way to help you improve hip mobility and strength over time. And if you're looking for an do-it-yourself program, you can go to uprighthealth.com/hiphelp to see some of our do-it-yourself programs, free articles, and links to a lot of free content on training your own hips. If you want to join the Upright Live Hips live streamed class, then check it out at uprighthealth.com/live. If you liked this video, be sure to click the like button and share it with somebody you know who wants to be able to squat deep too. And if you haven't watched the other squat deep video, make sure you watch that one. We'll link it down in the description box below, as well as provide you some other helpful links to programs that can help you improve your hip mobility and your deep squat. Smash that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future Upright Health videos. And now I want to ask you a question. Which of these exercises did you find most difficult, and which one did you find most helpful? Let us know in the comment section down below. I'm Matt Chu from Upright Health, reminding you that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.